Time our pleasure to welcome former Cougar quarterback John Beck, the personal quarterback of Zach Wilson, Jaron Hall, Kadon Slovis, Dak Prescott, and the list goes on and on. His high school practice is over, and he joins us live from California. John, welcome back to the Wise Guys.
There's a theme here. Every time we have you or Dennis on, you're in a car. What's up with that?
Well, you know what? It's because I'm in between practices. Watch, I'm going to turn this real quick. That right there is the second part of the day. It's the Pop Warner period of the day. So Dennis and I were just on the field with the high school team. And then I literally just drive 5 minutes up the hill, and I spend the next 2+ hours with two of my sons are out here right now in Pop Warner practice.
Is there anything better than that, though, than being out there? I got to do that with my boys. Is there anything better than just being out there with your boys, John?
I mean, I love it. I actually have 3 in tackle right now. So my Saturdays, I am on the field all day long. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, it's a grind. There are many gas station stops where I just let me just hydrate. Let me get out of the sun a little bit. But I do love it. You know, I know this period of life is only going to be here briefly, so I try to soak it in as best I can.
So, and John's dad and I are good friends and have known each other a long, long time. Back when he was chasing John around and I was chasing Kellen and Landon and Gavin around, and we relish those days when we got to be out with you guys when you were that age.
Fantastic. We'll try not to keep you away from practice too long. But, man, there's so much going on.
I was going to say, I think that's why this means so much to me, is because I had such an amazing dad that he loved it. And because he loved it, we spent so much time out on practice field, staying late, throwing balls in front of the house. Like, I can still actually remember sitting in the field house watching my dad pole vault at BYU.
Yeah, He was tremendous pole vaulter. Yeah.
And back then, there was like a weight room just off the basketball courts, because I can actually remember seeing football players enter and leave a weight room. And somebody gave me, it wasn't my mom, it was one of the players' wives on the football team, gave me this little stuffed BYU ball. And I would stand by the doorway and guys would poke their heads out and like flash me their hands. And I can have like this memory of, I don't know, I must have been like 4 or 5, throwing balls and hearing the sound of like a weight room. And like those memories stick forever, and I try to give those type of memories to my boys.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Hey, one thing about sports is things happen that we just don't see coming. We saw it last night, and now Zach Wilson is back as the Jets starter after Aaron Rodgers injured and out for the season. Played a nice game in the win against Buffalo on Monday Night Football. Nice way to be ushered right back in. What did you think of the game, his performance, and Zach moving forward from here? What's on your mind?
Well, this is wild because I think I'm going to say there's a group, right, that like everybody that's there to help Zach was excited for what this experience was supposed to be in terms of a season for him to watch one of the best to ever do it day in and day out, right? He got to watch him through an off season. He got to watch him through training camp. Well, now it was supposed to be an opportunity to see how Aaron Rodgers does the season. So we were all looking forward to this opportunity for Zach. And then in a blink of an eye, it's now all of a sudden shifted gears into another opportunity for Zach to be on the field. The good news is the positives. Zach's in a great place personally. He's in a very confident place. He's in a place of being excited to be playing. It's just not the way we all thought it was going to be. But if anybody that's been around the NFL knows the way things go, somehow that happens a lot, not the way you expect it. I'm excited for Zach. It's going to be a tough road, man. They got to go to Dallas, and then they got to go to New England, or play against New England. I believe that's a home game. And then I think they play in Sunday Night Football. I think they got the Chiefs, if my memory's right. So it's going to be a tough road, but I am excited. All of these opportunities are opportunities for Zach to grow and develop as a player. And, you know, he's in a good spot. So we'll just let him roll and see how it goes.
And you're so familiar with everything that's going on around him as you help him prepare. Are the Jets in a better position now around him for him to have more success this time?
Absolutely. I think the roster, and it's not a knock. I love the guys that were there. Good players, good teammates, all of that stuff. But the Jets did something with the roster because of it. If we're going to go out and bring Aaron Rodgers here, we have to make sure that we put together a playoff squad around him, right? This isn't like a rebuild. This isn't like a let's bring the youth up and let's develop the draft picks or let's find some young guys. Like, this is like we're making a playoff run. That's the roster that was built around Aaron Rodgers, and that's the same group that's around Zach. And I love seeing some of the guys that were the draft picks of his year and the year after that are really turning into key players for that team. You look at what Garrett Wilson, only in his second year, some of the plays that he's making, it's awesome have a guy like that around. I mean, like, I think you saw that touchdown pass that Zach threw. That was a run play. And that was press coverage out there, and he just took it because he believed in the matchup. If you want to be successful in the NFL, you have to have that type of confidence in the guys around you. And I think in terms of roster, there's far more confidence that will come from Zach in those type of throws.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers will be his mentor on the sideline? Do you think that will continue through the season, or do you think Rodgers is just out?
I mean, look, I think this is going to be a big blow to Aaron personally. Like, I think, to have him only play 3 snaps, right? Especially, I believe that his mind was one of making a playoff run, having a great year, potentially a Super Bowl. Like, all of those things I believe were in his mind. So to have it in 3 plays be taken from you, I don't think this is going to be some easy thing where tomorrow he shows up in the facility with a smile on his face and, hey, well, I'm just going to go help Zach. Like, Aaron's far too competitive of a guy for there to not be some time where he's going to have a tough time with this. But, I do think that Zach's maturity matters to Aaron. He's expressed that. He's always trying to help Zach. I do think there will be a time that after he kind of like grieves this thing and goes through this process of not being able to play, that then it will turn into an opportunity for him to help Zach where he can.
Blake's going to ask you about Kadon Slovis. One quick question about Zach, and we'll move on. You got Zach against Dak.
Yeah, your guys.
Sunday on CBS. 2 of the guys you train.
2 crazy good defenses.
2 crazy good defenses.
Yeah.
What? That's got to be kind of cool for you. 2 of your guys going head to head.
It is. It is. I mean, there's already been a number of texts of people being like, "Hey, are you going to the game? Like, you're going to be there, right?" I wish life was that easy that just at the drop of a hat, I could be like, yeah, I'm just going to go over to Dallas and, all will be good with my wife and 4 kids back at the house.
Right. You can't go. You got 3 Pop Warner football games.
I know. And honestly, I love experiencing the games with all my kids, watching the games. Right. And, but look, it's one of those situations. I've been in this before when I have 2 guys that I train and spend all the time with playing against each other. I want to see both do well. I'm by no means sitting there rooting for one over the other. I just want to see good performances by both, and then however it shakes down, it shakes down. But the end goal would be that both guys play solid games, good decisions, and stay healthy. Because like the worst is when you're there watching both guys and one guy doesn't finish the game, right? Yeah. That's the worst part. But I do want to see both do well. It is going to be a defensive battle. You talk about, Dallas, they may be the toughest defense in the league this year because of that pass rush. Who knows? But then you look at the New York Jets and what they have. I mean, it is going to be a battle for sure for both quarterbacks.
Yep, turnover margin. That's my key for that game. Hey, before I ask you about Kedon, John, by the way, listens in, and he's on the chat today. He commented, hey, once I pocket dialed John Beck, and he heard an entire fireside on the phone.
Do you remember that?
Oh, my gosh. No, but that sounds like something that would happen between John and I. Yeah. That's hilarious. John's a great dude. I got to know him back when I was at BYU, and he's actually come down and done a fireside or 2 for like the stakes I've been in. So John, hello buddy. How are you?
That's nice.
That's awesome. So yeah, he shared that. Then we got a guy on the chat called Belle Biv DeVoe. Like, come on. That's a great hip hop band back from my time. And he asks, do the Jets have enough in that offensive line to pass protect for Zach, especially against the front that you just talked about with that pass rush for the Cowboys?
I don't know if anybody is going to be able to control the pass rush of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I've known because of following Dak and the offseason and also their training camp, like there's been practices that I've gone to. That defensive front has the ability to absolutely wreck a practice. And because of that ability, this may be a season, if they can stay healthy, where they cause a lot of problems for a lot of offenses. I just think it's going to be tough. Like, it's not going to be about, do we have the men to just go mano-a-mano every single snap? Like you don't. You got to find ways to be able to manage that. And then how can you get the ball out of the quarterback's hands? You don't want to just be asking the quarterback to stand in that pocket for an entire game over and over and over.
Yeah, it's a great point. I want to ask you about Kadon Slovis a little bit. Seemed to me to make some progress, timing with receivers, getting the ball out, all of that. Progress from week 1 to week 2. in the pass game. What's your assessment of how he progressed from week 1 to week 2 as you watched him?
Well, there was a rhythm that was there in week 2. You could see, and it builds. I mean, you understand this being a quarterback, it builds. Like when you get some completions, when you hit some plays, when you're not always so far behind the sticks. And then let's say you are behind the sticks, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, and you pick up a few of those. It's that rhythm that just kind of you're settled in, right? You find that groove. And there will still be plays that may or may not work out, but I think the tough thing was that Sam Houston game. It was like there were periods where they couldn't get anything going. They'd get stuffed on a run, incomplete pass. Oh, we do complete a pass. Oh, penalty, sorry, bring it back. Now we're really behind the sticks. That's what it felt like. And I've made the comment before, like there were plays in that game where Sam Houston had guys that were in a spot based off of blitzes, little twists that were happening. It was a little bit of situational fortune of just like, man, we called the perfect blitz. Oh, man, our little twist happened to put us in the right spot. There were some of those. But, this week I just liked it. There was also a variety of throws. You saw Kedon take the underneath choice route a number of times. You saw him get the ball out of his hand fast. Then you saw some downfield routes. He let them develop, and we were able to hit those 14-yard stop routes, those deep crossers versus man coverage. Takes a little bit longer. I just think there was a comfort level, and it may not just be with Kedon's comfort level. I think he was pretty comfortable heading into the Sam Houston game, but I just mean when you start completing balls, it's that rhythm of, okay, good things are happening. Yeah. And I think that was the difference.
Amen.
Former Cougar quarterback John Beck's on the Wise Guys, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. We're going to ask you about your social media project that you've got going here in a moment. Before we get to that, Kedon's getting to Arkansas on Saturday. It'll be his 35th start against a P5 defense. How valuable is that for a team that's never played there before? And what do you expect from him Saturday night?
It's big. Look, I'm a believer in Kedon. Obviously, everybody knows that. That's why he's, playing at BYU.
Yeah.
Is a guy that I believed in, and I'm only going to recommend a guy if I feel that way about him. So I love that we have a guy like that at the helm. It does matter the games you've played in. It matters the amount of times that you've played against a speed of defense like that, whether it's physicality, whether it's speed, whether it's total athleticism on the field. It does make a difference. And so to have a guy with that experience, comfort level, I think it's going to help. The other thing is beyond BYU, right? Kedon's ability to have success in those games is only going to fare him better as he prepares for the NFL, right? When NFL teams put tape on, they're not going to pull up the SUU game. That's the reality. That's not a knock to SUU. That's just the reality. Most coaches watch about 6 games of guys to really get an idea. Then if they want to dive deeper, they go watch other games. But that initial, when they're filling out their booklets, it's usually 6 games, right? And as they watch those 6 games, they're gonna look at what games did the guy have good stats in, what games did the guy have poor stats in, and then they're gonna look at who the opponents were. Why did he have success against this good opponent? Let's peek at it. Why did he not have success against this opponent that's also a good opponent? Let's look at it. So to me, as Kedon just continues to develop as a quarterback, yes, he's got 35, and he's going to get another 8 more this year, 8 more plus. All of that is just going to bode well for him as he moves forward.
Word has it that Cody Epps will be back in the lineup this week for the first time since Game 8 of last season. So give him a full stable of resources. The group that he thought he'd have at wide receiver to start the season. He didn't have Keanu the first week, had him last week. Now he's going to get Cody back. Does that make a difference for him? Does having Cody back help?
Absolutely. Cody's going to be a key player in the offense. And I'm going to jump back to the Sam Houston game, whether it was inexperience, whether it was, the receivers that were filling those spots, maybe didn't really have a firm understanding or grasp of some of the responsibilities. There were errors made in the blocking. There were errors made on some of the routes, and that makes a difference. Some of those run plays that they need to have an edge guy at a point of attack, or you need to be able to get that nickel that comes off the edge if you're the slot receiver, all of those are impactful because that sets up the offense for down and distance situations, right? If you miss that nickel off the edge on a run play, you get stuffed at line of scrimmage. Now it's 2nd and 10. Well, what's your play call? Because if you run the ball again and you get stuck, now it's 3rd and long. If you pass the ball and it's incomplete, now it's 3rd and long again, right? All of those things matter. So to have experienced guys back, on all aspects of the game will be a benefit. And then Cody's the starter because of the things that he can do from a receiver standpoint, because of the trust that Kedon has in him, the ability to get open. To have that guy back is absolutely going to make a difference.
The running game has sputtered a little bit out of the gate. Now the opponents are going to get bigger and stronger. How much of a ground attack does BYU need for Kedon to have that kind of pressure relieved a little bit so he can chuck the ball down the field?
More than what they've had. I'll just be blunt, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to go into Arkansas and the teams that we play beyond Arkansas, you're going to have more than what you've produced up to this point. I think the scheme is our scheme. It's what A-Rod's going to do. It doesn't need to be a shift in our beliefs or our scheme. It just needs to be a little bit better execution, and we can anticipate it's also going to be against, you can say, a better quality opponent. So it's a big challenge, right? It's hard to say, oh, I guarantee this is going to work when you look at what they've done against Sam Houston State and SUU, and now they got to go down and play, a slate of Arkansas and other Big 12 teams coming up after that. There are some things that they got to find it. However it's found, whether it's the intensity in practice, whether it's better understanding of scheme, whether it's more time in like some O-line combo settings, inside run type stuff, however they find it, there does need to be another level found, because that does take pressure off Kedon. And the other thing it's going to do, it sets up the play action game. If you look at some of these games, BYU hasn't really been firing on all cylinders quite yet. I know we got the little throwback to Isaac, but there was a few plays in the play action game where we got lucky because SUU botched their underneath man coverage. At many times, they had two guys running with kind of like our tight end coming back on that. I call it a sift block back on the edge. There was some confusion in some of their schemes. If the other team doesn't have the confusion and they're bringing it a little bit more, we have to be able to not only establish a run game to set up the play pass, but also be able to block in the play pass game. So it's going to be a challenge both ways. But when the run game is efficient, you look at the years of Zach Wilson, Jaron Hall, some of those plays that were just daggers, like picking up 18 to 24-yard gains on first down off play pass, it's because of the run game. It's some of those huge chunk yardage runs that Tyler Algier was getting. It's the consistency of the run game that really sets things up.
Yeah, and we noticed, John, that in that first game, Sam Houston, I must have said it 100 times that following week. I'm like, you have to. People are talking about third down production. You're going to be terrible in third down if you can't get any production on first down, because you're immediately behind the chains. And series after series, they got nothing out of first down, and it was no wonder with all the third and longs that they were struggling. And so, your thought on that, and I feel like at Arkansas they've got to be productive and get something out of first down if they're going to have success down there. Am I off base, or is that?
Oh, 100%. Like if you talk to coordinators in the NFL, when they call a first down run play, they're thinking 4 yards. And I cannot stand, I do not ever want to, like teams that get into the run on first down always, I can't stand it, right? Like you don't want to always run on first down. Like I love some of the plays that BYU utilizes where it's an inside running play, but then if they don't match numbers out on the edge, let's take advantage of it in like the now screen game. Like I love those plays because it's all a numbers thing. If you go back 2 years ago and you look at Alabama when they won the national championship with Mac Jones, so many of their first down play calls were these, hey, we have a running play over here and we got a quick screen over here based off of numbers. And we are going to run that to death on first down because it's not off of play calls. Now it's off of the defense. But going back to what the coordinator in the NFL would say, he'll say, if I choose to go run on first down, I need it to be at least 4 yards. Because if I can then play call at 2nd and 6, I got the full arsenal of play calls. If we get stuffed on first down, now what do I go to on second down is going to be so critical of then how I end up on third down, right? You're actually limited on what you can call on that second down. And same thing with penalties. First down penalties crush you on drives. Yeah. Crush you. So you got to be smart. Also, you got to know based off of personnel, based off of matchups, am I asking somebody to set an edge or get to somebody that could put them in a bind because I don't also want to set up my guy for a hold. So, man, first down play calls, like, it's critical. It's critical. But that's also why I also like to be a little bit, and this may come across wrong because we're saying we need to establish some yardage on first down. But once you do start to establish that yardage on first down, go be aggressive. go do something that is a little bit risky, because at times you can get the biggest gains when you've set up that first down consistency to then, all right, I can be aggressive right here. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. But I'm going to potentially take a shot right here.
John, you sound like somebody who should have a website where people can subscribe and get all this stuff that can help them and their kids understand the game of football. And you have that. Tell us about your project.
It's coming along. You know, why they do it, it's kind of been that like discussion for a while, like, hey, should I do something like this? And, you know, people have come to me kind of like, hey, man, you ever thought about doing something like that? So it's all these different things happening. And, you know, to be honest, I'm kind of figuring it out as it's going. I'm piecing things together. I have not been somebody that's done a lot on social media, the internet, all that stuff. But I love football. I am a football guy. I love all the aspects of football. And so I just, you know, I'm trying to share information. I'm trying to share what I see. And it's for everybody, right? It's for fans. It's been cool to have some people that are connected to me that are already kind of giving some feedback. Hey, my brother-in-law loves your stuff. Or, hey, my friend just called me and said he spent a bunch of time today watching the videos. That's great. So I love the feedback, and I love that it's for everybody. Like you said, like if I was a high school quarterback back when I was being recruited by BYU, if there was anything out there that was going to give me some insight on what that offense was doing, I would have been all over it. When Gary Croton got the head coaching job at BYU, I can remember just trying to find any Bears tape I could find because, oh my gosh, here's a guy from the NFL, right, that he's coming. And yeah. I remember looking up stuff of, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember his name. He actually was from Tim Rattay down at Louisiana Tech. I remember trying to find stuff there of like, well, let me see what this is going to look like, you know. And as a coach, I am always watching stuff that can help me add a new wrinkle to what I'm trying to do, right? I love learning about the game. I love, you know, following people that put stuff out there. And so I'm kind of joining that club, and it's geared towards BYU, right? The fan base that, you know, means a lot to me, the team that means a lot to me. And I'm just trying to do a good job of putting good information out there.
So where can people find it?
whytheydoit.com. And then online, we're at Why They Do It. I think there's a bunch of underscores underneath there. On Twitter, that's kind of the main two places that I'm putting that stuff out there. And, you know, each clip is about like, you know, anywhere between like 4 to 6 minutes. It breaks down about 10 to 12 plays each game. And I'll start doing stuff also on Arkansas this week, some of their coverages and things that they do. But the goal is that fans can get a chance to see what BYU did in the game, why the concepts, like why they're running it, what they're attacking at times, right, how they can do things better. On some assignments. And I'm not trying to call players out by any means. I'm just saying based off of the scheme, here's where we missed out right here. Here's where this needs to get a little bit better. And then defensively, I just like looking at the opponent. I love the aspect of breaking down an opponent and, all right, how can we beat these guys? What do they bring to the table? What's the matchup going to look like?
It's fun, and sometimes it's more simple than people think. So on the chat, somebody early before we had you on asked the question, why did BYU get beat on that post in that game where the receiver ran right down the middle of the field and the safety didn't stay back? And we covered that one on After Further Review today, and we actually diagrammed it out. And sometimes it's really simple. And then they go, well, why? And I'm going, well, because they were playing 3 deep, and the safety was supposed to stay in the middle of the field deeper than the deepest guy, and he didn't. And they go, but why didn't he? And I'm like, that is a great question right there. And that's the question that Jay Hill's asking. Why didn't he? Why didn't he stay on top of that? Who knows what goes through a player's mind sometimes, even on the most simple things. You know, players maybe look someplace else or they're distracted or whatever, and people love when you can kind of break that down for them. And sometimes it's really simple.
Hey, Les from Santa Fe says, love the Beck videos, great personal film study, becoming more knowledgeable. So there's some initial feedback from Cougar Nation. John, let's finish with this last question, and this is going to say a lot about your personality and inner confidence.
There we go.
And we like to have those as we wrap up.
Is this one of like Blaine's like fastest 3 or something like that?
No, because we've already done that.
We did your 5, so you've done that. We have that. That's on record. That's in the books for all time, unless you changed. Right. You didn't change your breakfast cereal, did you? You didn't change your breakfast cereal.
No. And I remember you guys asked me my favorite band was Revolution, and you're like, who's that? I actually went to their concert this summer.
See, he's not changing. So if you're not changing, we don't need to. Yeah. If we have you on and you're like, hey, by the way, guys, I've completely changed. I need to do the Fast 5 again. We'll do
it again. We're easy.
But this is different.
This one goes to your core.
All
right. You threw for 11,021 yards during your time at BYU. If you add up all of Slovis's yards from USC, Pittsburgh, and 2 games at BYU. He has 10,466. That leaves him 556 yards away from passing you. You're his coach. Is this where the student tops the master, or is this where the master says it doesn't count because you weren't at BYU long enough?
Oh, I don't care about that stuff. Like, the only one that matters is those dang 300 yards that Max, because Max reminds me of it a number of times.
Yes.
Max likes to bring that up every once in a while, you know?
The data is important to Max. That is.
I mean, look, I think, to me as a coach, the thing that would be the best feeling ever is when my guys succeed. And so if success equals yardage that surpasses me by whatever, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Because at this day and age, those yards were a lot of fun. Do I wish there was more yards that we could have got? Yeah. Do I wish there was more wins we could have got? Yeah. But those days, to me, that's like a lifetime ago, right? That's not what's important now in my life. The things that are important now in my life, it's my family, my relationships, it's the impact that I have on the people around me. And with my quarterbacks, I want to see them succeed, right? And whatever it is that is equals success, if it's crushing some stat and all that, awesome. I couldn't be happier than when I see the guys that I put a ton of effort into having good things happen. And so to me, that's it. That's why, look, Kedon and I had a lot of conversations back in the summer of look, Kedon, at the end of the day, I want this to be a good experience, So to me, I want to see him throw for as many yards as he possibly can.
See, that's why you're above the fray.
That's right.
The great John Beck. All right, go back out to practice, whytheydoit.com. We look forward to having you later in the season. Thank you so much for your insight tonight.
Awesome, John. Have
a
fun
live
practice,
shot of
brother.
him going to practice. He is on his,
I'm literally going out right now. It's offensive
nice
period right now.
palm
There
trees.
we go. Thanks, John.
Yep, bye.
The great John Beck and the personal trainer, quarterback coach of Zach Wilson, Kadon Slovis, Jaron Hall, Dak Prescott, and the list goes on and on.